Oh, hi, Dragon Dreamers. Gina Virginia Casella here. Wonderful to be with you today. Today, you are joining me live, Hummingbird's Finest Nectar, where Dream Alchemist and I get together and we talk about things that Dream Alchemists talk about. We talk about things like nightmares, which we're going to do momentarily. We talk about our dream journals. We show pictures of our dream journals. So make sure you take full advantage of the free Facebook group, the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective. It's free to join, free to participate in. And what you get to do is engage with other dragon dreamers. So you can engage with me. I've got ample free content for you. I'm available here typically on a weekly basis to connect with you, absolutely free. And then the onus is on you to do your homework. And that's the part I'm interested in, is the story medicine of our homework, our dream journaling. I've been going through some soul retrieval homework. And I know you can't see this very well because I've got my background on, but I showed a picture of my journal not too long ago, and it keeps alchemizing, and I've done special things with my journal. I let it sleep in a bed of leaves and other things that I found outside on the ground. And when I engage in certain ceremony, I bring my dream journal with me so that I can bridge my worlds. Some of the stuff in my dream journal is very fantastical, but then other stuff, it's very um, in today's language, if you mean. So in our dream journals, we always want to dream big. So we tend to use language like millionaires, billionaires, the child language, trillionaire. Like, you don't need to be a trillionaire to be a homeowner, but the child language, they just know trillion means more money than I could ever dream of. So when we're working with something like money, in this example anyways, we use numbers that we don't even understand, right? And it's interesting because if I think about $30 million, like when I was a kid, $1 million, I really didn't even understand what that meant. So $30 million was just like an outrageous sum of money. But if I were to now think about one house, one home priced at $1 million, and then I think about 30 homes, that's a $30 million neighborhood, doesn't really sound like a lot of money these days. So, the point I'm making is that in our dream journals, we want to use numbers and language that's beyond our understanding. We could never hope and dream really for anything um, beyond our hopes and dreams, other than the ideas that we already have to pick and choose from or to alchemize. So when we engage in dream journaling, we engage in the process of expanding and building our muscle, if you will, to hope and dream, and to eventually numbers like trillions of dollars, or in the example of 30 million, 1 million, like um, also from like the child perspective to the adult perspective, inflation and how the understanding changes. Our dream alchemy is always changing. So if you're tuning in live, make sure you let me know in the chat. Got some static here. um, but other than static, nothing is going to stop me. So I'm also enjoying StreamYard. If you look in the description and also in the comments, you can see there's a link there to level up. You get a little bit of a discount and it helps me out as well. And I also have the Buy Me a Coffee link. As mentioned earlier, I offer lots of free content. If you wanted to really take your alchemy to the next level, absolutely get in on a free, um, you know, the free content that I offer. But if you get the paid membership, the collective is much more affordable. So it's a great stepping stone and great for you to get monthly maintenance in. But if you really need that extra touch, which I know most of you do, then you really need to book a private. And I want to remind everybody that the private sessions are flexible. So I talk about that when I do my promotions. So the way the information is presented, they always look like and sound like the same. But if you read the information that comes with the paid memberships, you'll notice that with the privates, you can change up the services because I know that we're always alchemizing. So if you wanted to spend your entire session just talking about dream journaling with me, you can, but you can come to something like this absolutely for free, right? And then your paid session, save that for the energy medicine practitioner work that I do. Save your paid sessions for gemstone readings, save it for Dragon Luminous, where you choose cards from the Dragon Dreams Oracle. Save your paid sessions for mind reprogramming. So ideally, your paid session is very narrowed down, your private paid session focused on you. And then you take full advantage of all this other free stuff that I offer and take full advantage of the free Facebook group, the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective, because it's free to participate in. And then you get to see what other folks out there are um, what their dream journals look like and sound like. So let's talk about nightmares. So what the hell is up with nightmares, right? Like who wants to have a nightmare? And arguably the waking life is the dream life, and arguably some folks out there believe that being here on planet Earth is hell, that being here is the nightmare, and that when we go to sleep, we escape, if you will, to this other reality, better known as heaven, or we escape to a place that is, we don't have those 3D biological worries that we have. So there's lots to be said about dreams, there's lots to be said about nightmares, but ultimately, nightmares are just one of many categories of dreams. And my intention is not to be providing dictionary definitions. And on that note, when it comes to dream journaling, something I always advocate is doing your own homework and sticking with it, persevering, because you'll notice that patterns do present themselves. And this is how you develop your own dream dictionary. So, in a very generalized way, the dream world is full of symbols and information to us, but we have different kinds of dreams. Dreams where we're just processing information day in, day out. But we might be processing information from like 20 years ago, something that for whatever reasons we couldn't process 20 years ago, only now processing. So dreams are not always relevant to time and space. And dreams are not always about extraordinary adventures and other realities. Dreams are very much focused on this reality. And if you want to get into different categories, like what is a dream? Is it different reality that you go to? Is it um, a lucid dream? So the dream is actually not even a dream. It's like um, a video game that you get to have fun in, and if you die or make a mistake in this video game, it's okay. Is the lucid dream real? So if you die in the dream, then you're dead in your waking life. So all these things we talk about, and there's some real experts out there. The reality is nobody really knows anything. And even somebody like Sigmund Freud, who talks lots about dreams, was mocked by his colleagues. So don't let anybody tell you this is the definition for a lucid dream. This is the definition for nightmare. This is the no, because nobody really knows anything. And the best we can do is alchemize our language and not get hung up on it. So if you have a dream and you tell me that you dreamed about an ET, well, I don't know, right? Like angel or ET, you tell me, right? Mhm. And then, like, let's say you had this really great dream and you wrote a book about it and you published it and it got really popular. Or maybe we don't write books anymore. It's all like oral language, reading and writing, and that's out. It's back to auditory oral language. Okay. So your story is so awesome. Okay. So it gets popular. Great. But in your story, you use the language angel, or are you using the language ET? And then over time, how does that, and then colonization. Like, I mean, this just goes, it snowballs. You can see how it's too easy to snowball um, uh, a vocabulary word into the wrestling ring, if you will, and then it's too easy to snowball a category word out of the wrestling ring. And and I like that. Like, we should be welcoming new vocabulary, and then we should be letting that vocabulary go, acknowledging our alchemy, dream alchemy, not just everyday alchemy. So, nightmares. Let's focus on that again. And while I'm chatting, let me know in the comments if you've ever had a nightmare and if you were able to make sense out of it. And obviously, in the chat, you won't be able to reiterate your whole nightmare. Um, but again, the free Facebook group, the Dragon Dream Soul Tribe Collective, you can go on there and share pictures of your dream journal. Even make a little 1 to 3 minute video. I would genuinely love to see it. You can also do that on Buy Me a Coffee, leaving your pictures and your comments in there. So, nightmares, why do we even have them? Well, just like any dream, our mind is processing information. I don't want to get hung up on, is a nightmare a lucid dream? Is a nightmare? Um, I don't want to get hung up on that. The reason that we're ultimately having a nightmare is because the subconscious mind is screaming out to you that something needs your attention, to the point that you're not getting the information. You maybe on a subconscious level are tapping into it, but not enough awareness at the conscious level. So there's something that needs to be communicated to you. Now, whether this communication comes in the form of something scary in your dream, like a monster, or something undesirable, like a car accident, nightmares really range. Something that might seem like a nightmare for me might not be a nightmare for you, right? Like making a speech. I'm comfortable making a speech, but for somebody else, that's like a real nightmare. I'm not talking about those kinds of nightmares. I'm talking about like a real nightmare where you're genuinely scared and this nightmare sticks with you. It doesn't go away. And usually, nightmares, we only recall like 1 second, half a second of it. And yet, these nightmares are so vivid, they really stay with us. And what's familiar keeps us safe. So, in my strong opinion, before we've even had the nightmare, we've been having the nightmare for some time. It's just finally we're consciously remembering. Um, we're literally startling ourselves awake, because when you wake up, that's probably the best opportunity, the best time, best case scenario that you're going to be the closest in communication to your subconscious mind, right? Like, you can always access the subconscious mind at any time. But ideally, when do you really access it? When you're asleep. And not just like, resting, but when you're in actual REM, REM, rapid eye movement, when that is going on, that is when the states of your mind are shifting. It's literally like shifting gears and going down an elevator into different layers, if you will, of your mind. And so until you get to that layer at the subconscious level where you can be in connection, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and have some dialogue, that's when we're talking mind reprogramming opportunities. So, how do you consciously mind reprogram yourself? Well, you can't unless somebody tells you about mind reprogramming, or naturally take an interest and start um, experimenting, playing with mind reprogramming and learning things, like, for example, the rules of the mind and how you need 21 days to reinforce something to make permanent pervasive change, which a lot of people have a hard time committing to that 21 days, which is why there's a lot of stigmas about hypnotherapy. So before you go and see a hypnotherapist, you might want to get hypnotized about making commitment. That way, the second time you go see the hypnotherapist, check off list, you can commit to the 21 days. But the point I'm trying to make is if your mind, spirit, everything about you, your whole entire energy field can get on the same page and communicate to you, it's it's usually something that comes with high emotions. So it's got to be a dream that's going to really make an impression to the point that you remember that dream. So these dreams are nightmares, and emotionally they're scary. We're very uncomfortable with these nightmares. Um, or it can be something that's happy, but like maybe reuniting with a deceased loved one in a dream. But it's so emotional and overwhelming that it wakes us up, right? So um, that brings me to my point. What is a nightmare? Is a nightmare something so bad that it wakes you up? Because if you are reuniting with your deceased child in a dream, I don't perceive that as a nightmare. I think of that as a beautiful experience, but maybe it's perceived as a nightmare because you wake up and your child is in that other realm. Is it the waking up that's the real nightmare? You know? So I love thinking. I love thinking about thinking, and I love shows like 2020. I don't even know if they're still making shows, but when I was a kid, 2020 came out, and they would spend the first half of the show telling you all the reasons why you should be in opposition about something. So it's like by the time half the show's over, you're like, that's it. I'm in full opposition of this issue because all these reasons I'm so disgusted, absolutely in opposition. Then the next half of the show, they would show you all the beautiful reasons about why you should support this. And then by the end of the show, you're like, oh, okay, I support this cause. And then you're like, wait a minute, what just happened here? Now you don't even know what to think. And so I want you to start perceiving nightmares like that. Don't be so quick to categorize a nightmare as something bad. Is it really bad? What makes something good? What makes something bad? What makes something good or bad in your waking life? And how does that parallel to your dream life? What are the things in this life here that you would consider a blessing, like having a grandchild, for example? But then if that grandchild randomly died for whatever reasons, is this life, this waking life, still considered a dream, or is this now a nightmare? So when you sleep, like, do you see how you can flip flop the switches here off and on, if you will, between the dream life and the waking life? So I bet when you read my buy me a coffee email, or maybe you saw my post on Facebook inviting you here today to talk about nightmares, I bet you thought I was going to talk about gory stuff, blood and bones and violence. Nightmares aren't always like that. Nightmares aren't always falling from tremendous heights to your death. Nightmares can be something um, very simple, very, very simple. And just feeling scared is a nightmare in itself. We don't have to put nightmares on a scale. We don't have to put dreams on a scale. The point I'm making is that we need to let go of language like dream and nightmare. We even need to let go of language like co-dreaming. We need to let go of everything. This is the poof state, the eagle condor state. But if we literally poof, let go of all of our illusions, including the ground underneath us, well, we wouldn't be able to function. The conscious mind would not be able to function. And knowing that the conscious mind is only 5% of us, like, holy fuck, that is a very strong minority. Think about the 95% subconscious mind and everything it has to do to present to us. And we're the 5% minority. And yet we're the ones walking around with blinders on, you know? Maybe the subconscious mind is the one walking around with blinders on. You can see how the conversation flips and flips. So, nightmares, this is where I get hypocritical. I'm going to be using the language nightmares and dream, but trying to come from a place of indifference and trying to see dreams as both dreams and nightmares, and trying to see nightmares as both dreams and nightmares. One is not black, one is not white. Um, for somebody, getting pregnant might be a real nightmare case scenario, whereas for somebody else, that's such a dream come true and gift, right? Living unconditionally. So maybe it's a nightmare to discover that you're pregnant because you don't have any money or community in your life. But if you had money, community, support in your life, having a baby would be like this beautiful thing, right? So we keep living conditionally. I want this, but only if that. And the dream life, like when we're sleeping, our thoughts keep going, they keep talking. So that 5% of us goes to sleep, but that 95% of us still awake in the dream life. And that's why it's so important to do things like dream journaling, because the conscious mind, when it's on, it's like a flashlight, and it's very picky and choosy what it's flashing the light on, what it can see. And then sometimes something will happen and it looks over there. So when we're dreaming, we don't have the flashlight. There's no light at all. It's just dark. And then the subconscious mind presents to us priority, if you will, of what we need to focus on. And the mind's number one job is to protect you. So if you're having fluffy dreams all the time, you probably got a real nightmare brewing. But on a subconscious level, your mind is like, no, 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 don't worry about that. The mind's number one job is to move you from pain towards pleasure. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to fill your head with all kinds of lies and create false inhibiting beliefs that will keep you stagnant. What? So it's important to have these dialogue and conversations with yourself, and in a positive way, to even mix up your worlds. Um, I wrote, you can find it in the Facebook group. Um, it's called, I forget what I called it, How to Bridge Your Dream Life with Your Waking Life. Bridging Worlds, maybe I called it. It's in the Facebook group, one of my free resources. And it gives you some tips and tricks how to do this. And then you have these moments where you actually don't remember if that was a dream or a memory. And not to sound schizophrenic or anything, but like this is a positive way to play a trick on your mind, because then it seeps into your dream life and your waking life. And ideally, if you keep doing this and bridging your worlds, when you have a nightmare, you can be there for yourself just like you're there for yourself in your regular happy dreams, right? I have so much to say about dreams, but today I wanted to focus on nightmares. And it's very interesting to me, bridging worlds. And as I mentioned already, like, what is a dream? What is a nightmare? Who gets to decide? What happens when the reality around you changes? If your perspective changes, does that shift the dream to a nightmare? Can you control the dream to shift into a nightmare, and vice versa? Are dreams and nightmares like yin yang, black white, where we need to find this gray area, the balance? I feel so. You know. Um. So so a nightmare. Just to wrap it up, in a traditional way, if in a traditional sense, I should say, if there's a monster chasing you in your dream, that is representative of a thought, something that is like demanding your attention, that you may or may not be conscious of. And um, this nightmare can be so startling and scary because it's like a full disclosure. So when you're not dreaming, if you saw a monster, that would scare you and you would remember that. So when you're dreaming, even if you realize that you're dreaming, when you're dreaming and the monster is chasing you, there you are running from the monster, driving your car, the monster's chasing you. That is you chasing you. Yeah, you're the monster. You're the car. You're the road. You're the tree, you're the bush, you're the lamppost, you're everything in your dream, including you, including the monster. So you have nothing to fear in your dream. In your dream, you could turn around and talk to the monster. Now, here in this 3D waking reality, if somebody is chasing you, I mean, unless it's because you dropped your car keys or something, like, I'm going to say, keep running, right? Call the police, get help, keep running. If somebody's chasing madly after you and they want to kill you and they want to run you over with their car, please do not stick around, okay? And in the dream life, you can take charge of those situations. Usually we wake up because we're too scared, but then you can meditate with the monster, that part of yourself, and say, hey, look, you really scared me in that dream. What message is there that you need to be communicating with me? And you can work with metaphors. Like if the monster was coming from behind you, maybe there's a blind spot, something that you don't see. If the monster is coming like in front of you, is forward, and you see the monster from a mile away chasing you, coming forward to you, something in your life, a danger, a concern coming forward that you can see very clearly that needs your attention. If it's coming, um, if the monster's in a car versus on feet, these metaphors can help you make connections into your waking life. And often the metaphors and symbols that are presented, they don't have anything to do with like the solution or actual problem. It's just to scare you, to get your attention, to say, hey, there's something that is not familiar going on and it's scary. And the thing that's not familiar needs your attention. And I find this fascinating. So, a long time ago, when I would think about nightmares, I used to think nightmares were really scary because I wasn't sure if they were real or not. It was confusing, things like lucid dreams, especially when I would hit the ground. I would tell people about my dreams, and people would say to me things like, you didn't hit the ground because you would be dead. And it's like, oh, were you there in my dream? You saw me hit the ground. You can verify and validate what I'm saying is true because I'm alive, right? So don't let anybody tell you what your dreams are about and what they mean and symbolize. And maybe you heard something when you were a kid, like if you hit the ground when you're a dream, you die in your dream, that means you die in real life. Like maybe, or maybe not, right? Some people, I believe, they don't know how to die. It's too much pressure. There's a lot of families out there where your health is very much their business and you have like no privacy, and they don't know how to die. They don't know how to die um, personally and intimately with their own thoughts, feelings, opinions. There's much to be said about this conversation, but the point I wanted to make is that um, I do believe, not everybody, but a lot of people who die in their sleep, that it's intentional so that um, they can die peacefully, and also so that they can go through whatever ceremony or rite of passage that they desire to go through before they actually die. But then to the family that is left behind, we make assumptions that, oh, they must have had a dream where they had a heart attack, and now because they had a nightmare and that caused their heart rate to escalate, and now they're dead on a biological level because of a heart attack. Like, this is where we can really benefit from the power animals and other archetypes. Like at the level of snake, the literal level, yeah, you died of a heart attack. But the level of jaguar, level of hummingbird, level of eagle condor, you can really work with different metaphors. And so explore those metaphors, explore what works for you. And if you've had a dream that is really exciting, it's the happiest day of your life kind of dream. You meet the man of your dreams. Well, you know what? The man of your dreams in your dream, that's you. And that big, beautiful house in your dream, that's you as well. So everything in your dream is you. So if you don't like your dreams, you might want to start shifting how you feel about you. Because if you don't like how you feel about you, then you're going to have nightmares. And or if you don't have nightmares, nightmares tend to subside because what's familiar keeps us safe. And then we don't even recognize when we're having a nightmare. We just take the nightmare in as a way of life. And the best example parallel that I can offer you, it's like let's say, in your family there's always yelling and screaming going on, and every time there's a family dinner there's always yelling and screaming going on. And then you move out on your own and you attend other people's family dinners, and no, life is not perfect, but these other people, they don't yell and scream at each other like your family does. And you get used to this. It becomes familiar to you, and you default to having higher standards and setting healthy boundaries, because you forget how stressful it is being around an epigenetics where people are always yelling and screaming at each other. However, let's say like years go by and you go to one of these family dinners, or even you even host a family dinner and you invite these people who are always yelling and screaming at each other. If you've ever been in that situation, it really makes you take a step back, because it's like, wow, it is so loud and clear, the yelling and screaming, and how not cool this is. It's very clear how disempowering it is to be in an environment like that, because you just get bulldozed. Other people are yelling and screaming, right? Um, you start realizing that when you were a kid growing up and you were always in that environment, that it was like always like being in a nightmare. Even though you were provided with food and shelter and whatnot, it was like being in a nightmare because there was this constant yelling and screaming and irritability. And then for years, you know, you're spending time with maybe your in-laws or whatever, and again, their life is not perfect, but they don't yell and scream like what's familiar to you. And so, anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that our perspective on what we consider a dream and what we consider a nightmare changes, going back to how I kicked off this show today about how when we're children, by the time we grow up, how things change and alchemize. Back when I was making points about colonization, and when I was talking about like the perspective of $1 million, $30 million, a trillions of dollars, and how we even get lost in what does what mean. We don't even know. We don't even know. So how do you know? Well, you just start doing your homework, right? So that's all I have to share for you today. I'm usually available for about an hour every Friday. No promises, but most Fridays I'm available. Hummingbird's Finest Nectar, Dream Alchemist. And I'm just in front of my thing here, but we talk about um, dream alchemy. We talk about moon magic. So when it's the new moon, that's when I'll provide a gemstone reading for the collective for free, mini one. And um, just the other day, I sent everybody a bonus um, full moon reading using the Dragon Dreams Oracle. So if you're into that kind of stuff, tarot cards, oracle, you'd really like Dream Alchemist. Dream Alchemist is free, and the replays are the same length. And what else do we do with Dream Alchemist? Anything to do with dreams or transformation. That's the focus. Things like the hero's journey and even myself, oh my goodness, that's what I wanted to mention. I know I knew I was lingering because I wanted to mention something that I don't like to mention. I don't like. I had a realization, at least for me, and when I was doing my homework, and I had to go through snake, then I had to go through jaguar. You couldn't just jump to jaguar. You have to do things in a certain order. So I did that. I was very studious. And then finally I got to hummingbird. And I found hummingbird to be really offensive because hummingbird was insisting that my life is perfect. Be excited. And it's like my life is falling apart and you're telling me to be excited. All this crap is happening and you're telling me my life is perfect and that this is the finest nectar. And I learned the hard way because I made assumptions and subconscious programming and whatnot, like most of us, that the hero's journey is the story of the triangle of disempowerment. And the power of the hero's journey is to provide our conscious mind with a structure, sequencing, a beginning, a middle, and an end, archetypes, symbols. And that's the power to be made about our dream life, our dream life, our waking life, whether you're sleeping or awake, because I don't want to get hung up on categories. But whether your eyes are open or closed, you're in a state of dreaming. And I wonder what you have to say about that. Um, because there's a famous quote. I don't know who came up with this quote, but the quote is, "Follow your dreams; they know the way." So if you're the dream, then you know the way. And if everything exists in the now, past, present, future, all wrapped up and bundled into one, and if we're the gods that we've been waiting for, and if whatever is inside of me, the whole entire universe, unfolding, projected out, you, my reflection, me, your reflection, then I feel very confident that we can alchemize and find harmony with balance in dreams and our ongoing conscious evolution. And so, thank you so much for joining me today on Dream Alchemist. This is Hummingbird's finest nectar. And something that I wanted to mention too on a final note was all of us, including myself, are so scared that we cling. And when crap happens to us, like we lose our jobs or our car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, that's because we were clinging. And why were we clinging? Because we were in survival mode and we were living a life of illusion. And Murphy's Law, everybody's got Murphy's Law up their butts, eventually wins. And when I talk about Murphy's Law being up everybody's butts, I'm talking about practicality. So, bridging your dream life and your real life in a safe way. You can't, you know, drive a car that constantly needs repairs and you keep pushing your luck and you've got a tire that has a hole in it, and okay, maybe you don't get paid till the end of the month, so you just put some air in the tire, and you're at the gas station every day or two putting air in your tire, But then you get paid and you don't put air in your tire, and you tell yourself, well, or you don't get a new tire, you just keep putting air in it. And you tell yourself, well, I've got other financial priorities. And then at some point, there you are on the side of the highway in the middle of nowhere with a blown out tire. And what do? You get mad, mad at God, mad at spirit. How could this happen to me? The only person you should be mad at is yourself, because you knew that you had that tire that was leaking air. And okay, you needed to wait to the end of the month, but then you didn't take care of that tire. And now the practicality, the biological world that we live in, the Pachacuti, if you will, if I'm getting my names right here, is it Pachacuti? But maybe I'm wrong. That the gravity, we just can't. It's like a storm. We're caught up in that, and I feel like that's why nightmares in our real life, these lessons are so harsh. And so if we can wake up to the nightmares. If you have to do without your car and take the bus, then that's what you need to do. If you live in a rural community where there are no bus stops, like, you know what? One step at a time, these nightmares, this nightmare life that you're living, you can't sleep because you keep having nightmares. You don't even remember your dreams. You just keep waking up, keep waking up. Like, has it ever dawned on you that maybe you keep having nightmare after nightmare? And your mind fiercely protecting you. You don't even remember that you had a nightmare. You don't even remember dreaming at all. Everybody dreams. Just remembered dreams and dreams that are misunderstood. So don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to dial it back financially, dial it back so that you can be in right relationship, putting your money in the right places, right? I guess as I'm speaking, a lot of times when I'm speaking, I feel like, what is with this side story that I'm going on, these tangents that I go on? But I feel like as information's coming to me, somebody out there really needs to hear it, you know, um, relating to each other. So when my life fell apart, I thought that I was dying, and um, and I thought, wow, like, I learned a lot about conscious evolution, and so I thought, well, you know what? If I'm gonna die, I want to die consciously, because if I'm coming back here, then I want to make sure that I set some things up better for myself if I choose to come back here. And before I even die, there's conversations that I desire to have with certain folks out there. And so we want to live in a way that we're always prepared to die. So dying consciously means living consciously. And all of us, including myself, very guilty of living beyond our means. So even in the dream life, when you're hoping and dreaming, you got to remember that the greatest kings of all time didn't live in homes like we live in today. They didn't have the luxuries that we have today. So I wonder, like, when the kings of all time and the great queens and goddesses, like, what did their dreams look like and sound like? What did their nightmares look like and sound like? And ancient literature will reveal the truth, and the truth is that we're always dreaming of a better tomorrow for the next generation, an alchemized tomorrow. So we need to dream beyond our wildest dreams, and we need to have nightmares beyond our wildest nightmares so that we can make change. Now, when I say we need to have nightmares beyond our wildest nightmares, I don't at all mean that bad things need to start happening to you. No, I mean these wake up calls, right? And these wake up calls we tend to perceive as bad luck. Like when we experience synchronicity, we think, oh, synchronicity, I saw, it's 1:23 on the clock, 1, 2, 3, synchronicity. That means spirit's on my side. Great. Well, what happens if you look at the clock and it's 1:24? Oh, you just missed the 1:23 synchronicity by 1 minute, like, does that mean that the universe doesn't support you? No. So sometimes in our lives, we can ask the universe to show us more synchronicity, um, and we perceive the synchronicity as positive, and we perceive anything negative as a bad day. But the negative is what I'm trying to say here, and it's trying to be trying is that um, the negative bullshit that goes on in our life, that's synchronicity as well. And when you're dreaming, like I said before, we're just processing information. There's different kinds of dreams. And a lot of the dreams that we had when we were children, even as a fetus, we're only now starting to process. And the mind, like the conscious mind, doesn't even know where to start, but the subconscious mind does. So, whatever nightmare you're having, that's the focus. And even if the nightmare doesn't make any sense to you, just take it for what it is and meditate to the nightmare. So if you had a positive dream or a negative dream, you want to just always treat them the same. Um, a lot of us, we only write in our journals when crap is going on in our life. Get in the habit of always writing in your journal, always mentioning the good things that are going on in your life. Mention the things that are indifferent. Hey, journal, this happened today. It's not a good or bad thing. It's just a thing that happened and I wasn't expecting it to. Good, great, okay, fine. And when you do this, you build a rhythm, you build a way of knowing. Um, so I always have much to say. I hope you enjoyed today's Hummingbird's Finest Nectar Dream Alchemist. I love talking about dreams, and often people will ask me to help them with dream analysis and dream interpretation. And you know what? I always find that so complimenting. But really, at heart, only you know those answers. I can help you uh, go on a quest where you will ask even more questions, questions, those go hand in hand. But the actual answers you seek, I could never ever provide you with. Nobody could. Nobody could. The more deeply I engage myself in energy medicine and my own spiritual autonomy, the more of an attitude I have. I don't mean to have, but I think about a lot of other folks out there who are ripping people off left, right, and center. They will take your money. They will tell you all the things that they want, that you want to hear. They will fill you up with all kinds of hopes and dreams. But what have you filled yourself up with? Like, are you are you seeing transformational change? So I feel really passionate because I know people who have called these hotlines and whatnot and who have paid money to belong to monthly memberships where they engage in collective and or private sessions where they think finally is my opportunity to talk about this or that. And I myself have paid money to get one-on-one information, and all people do is basically tell me somebody else's story, and then they try to tell me that that's my story, and it's like, you know so it makes me think about public education and how we're obsessed with testing, uh, memorization. And that's the push. That was the push of the revised curriculum, at least in the province of British Columbia. I don't know about the rest of Canada, but when I was a teacher, that was the thing about the revised curriculum was it was moving away from memorization and just recalling. It was moving towards creativity, and and I guess like I just feel hypersensitive because I remember when I was a teenager and a young adult, I would buy dream dictionaries. And eventually in grade 10, the internet came out. And, if I had a dream about anything, an owl, I'm on Google. I dreamt this about an owl. What does it mean? And it tells me all this information. I get overwhelmed. If you don't know where to start, hey, that's a great starting place. I dreamt about an owl. I want to know what that means. I had a nightmare about this. What does it mean? Those are all stepping stones, but ultimately you got to do your homework. You need to build the consistency. You need to build the conviction and trust with yourself and with your subconscious mind so that when you see a certain symbol in your dream that that's what that means with certainty and conviction. So the chakras, for example, are a really good stepping stone. So, like, let's say you dream about, I don't know, you're outdoors and the sky is red, and you're like, "What's up with that?" Well, when I think of red, I think of the red chakra. Why? Because for me, in my own personal journey, the chakras are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, and each chakra, it's like a combo. You know how you get like a burger, a fry, and a drink? Chakras are like that too, except you don't get a burger, a fry, and a drink. You get a color, you get a symbol, you get a musical note, you get a god, you get um, an organ, you get psychological aspects. And so when somebody says, "Hey, Gina, I dreamed about I was outside and the sky was red," well, I might tell that person, you know what? The red chakra is a good stepping stone for you to investigate. I'm not going to tell you, "Oh, you had a dream about a red sky," and then just start listing off all the things that represent the red chakra. Why would you pay me for that? You can go online or buy a book where it shows you that. I used to follow this girl regularly. I thought, "Oh my God, this girl is so informative," until I realized that she had phenomenal memory recall. And that's what she would do is just in her mind, like read off the list of information. So there's a lot of that going on. I was getting passionate. There's a lot of that going on in the field that I'm in, and it does not help the stigmas. Absolutely. Doesn't help the stigmas. Um, so don't pay attention to the stigmas, right? And if you want change, don't piss your money away. It's like losing weight. If you want something, you got to have that mindset. It's like being an athlete. So you need to be a dream alchemist, a dream athlete, where you are constantly engaging in your spiritual autonomy. And part of that process is engaging in your dreams. So anyways, I really enjoyed being on here today with you. I never know what I'm going to talk about. I thought today nightmares might be a good one. So let me know in the comments or on Buy Me a Coffee if there's a special topic about dreams that you would like to talk about. I also get passionate about beard and hair symbolism in dreams because it gives clues to timelines. So I like talking about symbols for that. Folks who've got like bushy, wild kind of beards, that's like animal lower level, right? But the folks in dreams that have the nice pointed beards, there's a civilization and upper class and this hierarchy of they're better, us versus them mentality. Um, in dreams, if you see somebody or even yourself wearing a fancy pair of shoes, well, a long time ago, before Jesus was even born, nobody wore shoes, right? Eventually, sandals came into play. Eventually, people were um, inventing shoes, right? So symbols sometimes there's just so much to say, but ultimately, the symbols are for you to really work with. Like if I have a symbol and then you have a symbol, it may or may not mean the same thing. And like maybe you had a dream about a frog, and ever since you were a kid, you've always liked frogs and you're a real expert on frogs. And in the dream world, you know every single dream symbol interpretation about frogs, and you, like I said, are a real expert. Like, if I have a dream about a frog, I'll keep you in mind because you know what? Maybe there's something about my froggy dream, something froggy is going on in my life, and I could read your information about frogs and gain perspective. But ultimately, I get to determine what my dream was about. So, just like anything in life, do your own homework, do your own critical thinking based on your own critical thinking, reaching your own conclusions based on your own critical thinking while considering the perspective of others. Because just a short 50 years ago, uh, things were very masculine and very dominated, and there was a lot of repeating of information. But since the internet, information has really blossomed, and we don't have to be scared to cling to ideas. If you stop clinging, you'd be surprised how much you free yourself. And this business of clinging, clinging to hopes and dreams, clinging to nightmares, why would you want to cling to a nightmare? Well, what's familiar keeps you safe, right? You might have a nightmare because your nightmare is recognizing that you're about to transform and no longer be part of like your shitty matrix. And that's not familiar. So the nightmare is going to scare you and create anxiety and take you away from your process to keep you feeling safe. But wait a minute, you wanted to make change, but you see how the rules of the mind here. So find balance with internal and external um, work. Get busy getting to know yourself. No one knows you like you. You're the only you that is out there. There will never ever be another you. And no one will ever understand your dreams like you. And so in your dreams, you can even call to your former past life selves. You can call to other dimensions of yourselves, and you don't even have to overthink. Am I calling in another dimension? Am I calling in a past life? Who the hell am I talking to? Just go with it. Go with it. If you want to take some stones that you have and designate, this stone for your, maybe a past life when you were 7 years old. Maybe this stone here represents this life when you were 7 years old. And sometimes the two 7-year-olds, they get together and they talk to each other, and you're the adult, looking at these two stones having a conversation. There's always so much to say. On a final note, I just really wanted to reassure folks out there that if you don't have any um, images that come to you, I want to reassure you that you're still dreaming. It's just that um, your dreams are anchored in a life before you had this actual body. So, um, using myself as an example, I have a lot of dreams where I don't see anything, it's completely black. But my other senses are completely heightened. And it's because in those dreams, I don't have eyeballs. I I was some kind of worm sperm. It just was very normal, natural not to have eyeballs. And then at some point, I developed eyeballs, but I took on forms like being a catfish. So I lived in dark, murky places. And so even though I had eyes, they were just kind of relaxed and looking down, you know? Um, so nightmares. If you catch the replay, I'd love to read your comments even in 20 years from now. And I wonder what we're going to talk about next week. Like I said, I'm here most Fridays. Not sure what 2026 is going to bring to my schedule, but at this time, um, the rest of 2025 and 2026, my intention is to maintain the schedule that I have. So, all right, Dragon Dreamers, I wish you a wonderful day. Gina Virginia Casella here, spiritual biz entrepreneur, dragon dreamer, and dream alchemist like yourselves. And like I said, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, dreams, moon cycles, then keep tuning into Hummingbird's Finest Nectar, Dream Alchemy. Check out the playlist for past videos. There's a video series called The Conscious Evolution mini video series, and I think there's only 5 videos right now. I'm not in a rush to put more because those videos are tailored directly for you, and those videos will be remade and remade and remade again, alchemized, depending on how these conversations go. So if there's something really interesting that you would really like to hear me speak about, or maybe you're like, you know what, Gina, I know I can just go online and Google chakras, but I feel overwhelmed about resources and I'd really like to hear what you have to say about chakras. Then I can talk to you about chakras only because you asked me and only because it was a stepping stone to invite you into broadening that perspective. And so, um, also, if you're feeling tired this time of year, give yourself that gift of time. Go to sleep, get it in. All right. So, thank you so much again for watching me. Make sure you check me out on my website, one website to rule them all, ginavirginiacasella.com. And that's the best place to go because you can find all of my free resources. And if I can give you a tip, my biggest tip to you is engage and immerse yourself fully into your dream life and waking life. Take 100% full advantage of all of my ample free resources. If you've got questions about a video that I made years ago, bring those questions to me. I'm more than happy to update my videos. They are tailored to suit you and your journey and where you're at. Because this business of the triangle of disempowerment, we got to transform it into the triangle of empowerment. And so I like to think of myself as somebody on your hero's journey that's helping you to redirect and command the cell therapy for you to manifest your best life ever while keeping your chakras nice and clean, organized, as well as keeping you free from intrusive entities or anything like heart extractions, anything uh, that I can help you with, I will. So, all right. So I'm going to log off now officially. Thank you so much, Dragon Dreamers. I really appreciate your time and your interest. And I wish you a happy full moon. It is waning at this point. So check out the video, the bonus that went out, Dragon Dreams Illuminous. So uh, take full advantage of these free resources, get in on a paid membership, and really escalate your life. Take care, and we'll talk to you next time.